Oh, now you say the office.
Please hold on. You see, don't let us go there. Men call me.
What is the issue with
hold
party,
on, please.
At
that material moment.
My never I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there. I see them. Yopo.
Media conversations. The minority leader in Ghana's parliament or a press conference in some etruja. If you know one of the judges, you know, at the circuit court, I think. Now, in somehow kind of a brainer free, sir, as a way the minority leader, a trash here, it means to free, no, or can no cry a womb already. What's it?
Because you are just the person who is supposed to let us know the reality. A minimum few say,
yeah, necessarily present issues. We are who few say, some we are finna me way, but
yes, just we need no only other job because Ghana, you know, Judy, Sanoma, yourself,
issues into the point we are may have say,
who's few say, because clearly will be. My politicians need space to operate. Because if you give them space to operate, a death trap, no. It's no more a relevant road again in this country. That's how the politicians are treating us, both sides. National service ni penny no party on the honum. No more refers a former one, a party, and a chance here. Is that the kind of Ghana?
No, say a surprise.
Please.
And you're on one.
We have a
surprise.
We see our explanations, but you be a do.
Oba office and the staff now are reading.
And no staff report. During office hours. Because I go near you. The Ekabiano, the reference is NPP. Because you can't then all of us need the only reason why we keep coming in is that time is of essence. Any pankwa, any padaje, any paye die, policy makers and shapers. No, but for that reason, we all join the queue and keep on misbehaving like everybody's behaving now in this country where you can't see through well. So when you go two persons in this country and let the order of the day. They are weaponizing social media. And whether MPP, whether NDC, whether journalists.
Oh, now you say the office.
Please hold on. You see, don't let us go there. Men call me. What
is the issue?
Hold on, please. At that material moment,
yes.
The office could not give. The office could not give any appropriate time. So we working hours. Ghana working hours. So we do birthday. You should hold on for that 1 or 2 hours. What are you talking about?
Because
hold on.
Office staff.
Private work.
What's wrong with that?
And private. Don't go there, please. Don't let us entertain this. That is why their own people are in talking now. At the agency,
this was a majority of the route and the big push.
Yes, and the big push. That's so.
With the excuse of
agency. Minister Kohono. The agency at the Massad and Ewana. After the minister Bakati say, Uber terminate. You don't. Well, I don't want to hear those things because this account drama and the optics. Only a deal with politics much. It's a banner kasa. And we'll be painting a boss Rabi bed or Jin Bano in there. Yes, I will be any stand view. Because the beautiful Ghana that we want to build, when we build it, I am a part of it. I am a beneficiary of it. You are a beneficiary of it. So when we are praised, it's for a good cause. Why? I don't know. I wish that you use Accra Kumasi Road. Now Accra Kumasi Road, out of order. And Accra Kumasi Road, out of order. Out of order. By Namin Pengu, Mapengu be in Futuna. Or Machita Kwanse Basa. In Futuna, Bogu Yen Susano. Maobi and Kunyan Kwesiano a penny. Oh, my name. Immediately see. What kind of class society is this? Why? These are the issues. Because if your minority leader goes as high and says, or bomb pass your best friend say, Ombrana Ombakika, can you imagine? Why do you want to do this? Why? And no NDC person should take advantage because Muyebi. I review people at the bench. Okay, can't someone doing enough for more. Muyebi. But ain't consider pain. ana we no mate say before kasa onyame adom ne eba power dia and adimo kotu Queen Elizabeth sebe na mu no na mo certificate ba asambo nya bill hwe mindset edi wura yanim. Look at the mindset we NDC ni agira ho emre ye ninka so tutu no ye tie. When we talk like this, pray that this country will reconcile and heal. Yes sir. Ekochana ye kakom no it depend here. Anytime somebody holds a political office, your next point after exit is harassment, victimization, intimidation, all manner of things. You have some mind. I'm on mind to tumpong, and I have some on mind. Now, if your man abokrana, atata, no man self attack. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why? And no more why ain't me yet. And no more be brego man so ain't me yet. Free medicine hospitals major G, Kolebu, Rich, Konfanochi, Holy Family Crowd Techiman. Go and check the facilities there. Go and check how doctors are being paid. Nurses, pharmacists. Go and check health workers. What they go through. Teacher for from time immemorial, ever seen the debut teacher for back pay came. Teacher for child 14 months, 18 months, 3 years, 2 years. We are not paying them. Classroom. Can they poison our kids? What are they teaching our kids? Ensure as we speak. This alienation, your chum was the intention of going in a suma. Now, people say, in Yania would do a side on Yan, and Siono, Uncle for free. Yadia would do a Benyan, a free neighbor. Now, cry a touch of him 1993. Yeah, that's we tough. A cry a touch of him 1993. Me was the FDA for the best organization. The FDA for modern Catrain. What can capacity to even indulge what you say? Money be. Do you miss? If we will be a banner, but you can summon some fatanobe, a manual, but this platform, we should tell them as it is because we've suffered too much. We've suffered too much as a country. A beautiful country where a former president tells us that Yatisikasu as a comedy, which is very true. We are suffering, how many countries are you blessed like we are in this country? Everything you nyamidama bibia you nyamidama teach you cry multimedia kwano ututu from the say dear bro and say ebefifi. What again do we want? What kind of leaders are we having? What kind of people are being ruled? Again biem on my taxi driver eko hu ade won kema ye nyebosi odi ade na bane taxi driver yakohu ade ze dan kem yebosi. What do you mean? Please. Okay,
Oman inti homeso kakra. I'll come back to you. To krawen to me and chieti for we normal. I'll come back to nafe yashas yena omwe wasi yacha. What I would say on Honorable Osahin Alexander Kwamena Afenyon Marken in a press conference, and they say, I mean the court of Ghana say their decisions, judgment, rulings can be criticized. In fact, the Supreme Court used the word rambunctious. No matter how harsh our criticism, no eternal, you can criticize their decisions. I think in the case of Honorable Kwame Afenyomarken, no, he spoke on that platform more as a politician than a lawyer. Because as a lawyer, he knows, so you can critique decisions of the court. But when as a personal attack, that's where he transitioned from being a lawyer to a full-blown politician. He was then speaking as a politician. The personal attack, now, I think, was very unfortunate. I mean, he could have criticized the ruling of the court, and on the court, no, and the first person. Said the NDC in opposition had cause to criticize decisions and some even attack personality of judges. But when it comes to the minority leader, who is also a senior member at the bar, I thought he should have been a little bit measured and then dealt with disagreement or with the ruling rather than, I mean, names or passing a law school exam, so say way. I mean, those were a bit over the top. In the end, I think the minority leader, when he listens to himself again, will humbly come back and, if possible, render an apology, especially because he's a member, an officer of the court, and a senior member of the Ghana bar. And onubitimi abwa. So we keep the value system in our society, intact. Very, very, very important. It's about the value systems because gatekeepers, elusu track then I buy free for all, and that will be an issue. And that's why when the NDC were in opposition, we kept sounding that warning and say, Mama Yansha Sana ye chano calling the Supreme Court unanimous 11 or say unanimous 7 and and obi a women organizer obi a osono mami obi a say we kept sounding that alarm bell. Say Charlie, we are digging a dangerous pit, and that is where we find ourselves now. You know, the lack of principle.
Principle your issue.
Yes.
Your principle. You know credit. You know credit.
Sure. Sure.
And that is a dangerous thing.
Sure.
Bibia da ebeka no kura ejina baby ejina ansa na ka no kura yeka. Why do we do that?
Yes.
And so mine Bibia da mesere NPP and NDC kitafo. Why?
Yes.
Muntie, because the fact that your party is in power.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that adie bia o party ye bia no papa. It can be so. It can be so. Na da nyo mo na edu asare betira abo kokko no. Edu asare nyo no na betira abo kokko no. O mo kokko.
Yes.
Musa for band nyo no ne bo kokko.
No.
Erikaja metra kase.
Yes.
So if all is well, all is not well. Say NDC ekwa hunye ma. Ghana ni bia no esa o mani your day because omo na ebu man no. Your bet prayer is that onyame mo omo nimde na omo sa nkabom na wontimi fa mu man no na wo sunsuaso no emra yeso. Why? Because if we continue to equalize over can NPP for koka now we can say 7-0 yebema we chief justice regional women's organization. Why do we need this again? That's what I'm saying. The NDC, if they think that omana team no omani NPP for na enya no mubua, they should hear me right. A bring basu ombe who say na nipa nyina na NPP for. So when we are talking, they should listen. When you come in with a reset mindset and agenda, you don't use the NPP as a yardstick. It's not possible. The abysmal performance of the NPP cannot and should not
be the yardstick for the NDC.
Because clearly, so if you use that as a yardstick,
is it also
and keep on misbehaving like everybody's behaving now in this country where you can't see through well. Say, when you go two persons in this country, and the order of the day, they are just weaponizing social media. And whether MPP, whether NDC, whether journalists, whether whatever, obia fall adesi anima na odiatem, and we're all looking on helplessly. Yankoswa na yema imponcheni no, yankoswa ni enyomo konkonti bano. When they start coming out as imponcheni, any jatane sibo, and atribia, then we all come back to our senses. So clearly, whether you are a minority leader or majority leader, if we don't start telling people that this one, you have the right to criticize or complain, but this one, you didn't do well, especially when you're a lawyer. A too bigger or whatever you call to judge Penny. Judge Penny when you're for them. What's your catcher say, John? Matisse say, ladies say, John, Patrick for the currency. Matisse say, oh, by addition over 40 years.
Who made crowd?
Yes, and yet, the end of Cassati say, said the communist and don't call law school don't need him. Why do we say this?
Yeah, because the NPP wants to come back to power.
Yeah,
also the pressure air to a bang.
Well, Obi,
that is normal. So buying also will refer.
Well, that's now refer saying. See, I can't say refer as the young queen though. You can't say refer as that. Young queen that. Because I foresee 2029, 2032, whichever year the NPP will come. I foresee the NDC coming if we don't stop and pull brakes. I foresee the NDC coming to say there's a political IGP, there's a political blah blah blah. So for how long can you could play back when the NDC was in opposition? Every decision that our judiciary took,
no more problem.
They had a problem. Every decision that our judiciary took, the NDC in opposition had a problem. The NPP came to the defense of the judiciary. Today,
MPP
same thing. Go to BOG. Very shameful act. Normally go through. BOG no de no hono. Kasami amejuma yemne menkunta buom. Esin to biaba. The NDC in opposition. What did they say? Today, who is defending BOG? So why are they doing that scaling politics to us? And Ghanaians, you don't want us to understand this. Today, we are CSOs who are justifying some of the things today. Why? Can MPP be a yardstick for us to progress? No. What is this? What is it? Ya boka ye deda boka ye dede even school feeding. Ya kuhun tokwa sa fitimeresante ebesi enne ayekasa. School feeding. Edwane full tantaya ye ma edi school mo. Why? We cannot resolve these things. Road minister, maintenance of our roads, Extremely key.
Is it
drive through the whole of Ghana, baby Abenya, whether the western, whether the central, whether the eastern, whether the Ashanti, whether the other corridors. Drive through there and see. A coin pie see ayeno. Nashe in tokron ni amana hodo abedi dem say. Sa coin na ye de be ehwe sika gu ho year of rose abetwem, big push abetwem, and the funny aspect, big push. So big push. We've sat here and we've talked. So we catch them say minority with the akasa. Education na akasa. ABC yes, ABC no. Yamu almost space this how. Instead they be that yes no. Because people say this for since when? An NPP ayo pure magu baby no. Ebe a standard or a measurement for them. Bibi awo catch this will be no references and referral. They call NPP for. Now come say besi omo so anka say oma. As we speak now. The NPP cannot be a yardstick or a measurement. Well, a
verdict has been passed.
Yes, you cannot use them for anything. Because if it was appreciable, and came do something and show you. And you came with a mindset of resetting, not with a mindset where the NPP was going to be a measurement. What's that supposed to mean? Until the NDC should hear me right. So, sign on person who don't go my recent but jitum. So there are a lot of things happening now. It's not part of the recent agenda. There are a lot of things. It cannot be part of the recent agenda. In fact, it was not a part of the common idea. A lot. FM. A lot is happening. Even with the nurses issue. Obi, was this the promise by the NDC on this matter of nurses for recruitment? How? Please, be punctual. We are trying to open a fresh page because I must have aban bi obebebi arobi aban bi obebebi ano yaudie ebufuo and consider ben it is so kasa we are NDC are transfer for the next 100 years and it's not possible. Whether MPP beba 30 or 40 or 100 years after no, the issue is that is there going to be a change from what is happening now? No. So I reconcile and your books in here.
Almost
worse.
Or even worse.
And that's what they've been doing to us. Years so far. Noble people will come and work in this country called Ghana. Ebe we cheno na suma abasuma my Ghana enim guase basa and ye be to us ye di amokas bi ne ayibi asete wono wo be bob mine no bibia ebe sikwa de bi si da me kan MPP time na police bi of your phone e ma bi so be cool bi na kwan aya no kwa aden if today Felix is not justified because tomorrow he might be sitting here to talk the same language that he's talking. Say, and papa. That's what Busa. Can person Busa the question? BOG,
Bank of Ghana,
when they were in opposition, BOG, they are putting up a defense today. Is it not the case?
Yes.
Oh, the other day.
And so, how much same or more diano? So, more the city at the signal is stable and inflation above from. But MPP for the and for CD and yes stable, I'm inflation so I'm from. Now, on say.
Yanko Susa. Oh, Sasani Ebe Canada. Oh, and Yanko Susa. Sasani Ebe Conodia. Yanko Susa. Sasani Ebe Conodia. This is not the kind of a momu I share anymore.
Very well.
Sasani Econodia Bianco Susa. Any problem here? Any big push contractors now, mono. And the agency. Where their mama Musu Sosina, Yakwa, Ebinia, she or Sai Tono. Yanko Susa, and I say, we're a big deal. Below Yanko Susa. Sasana because dia yenye din dia cause we various institutions teacher for ejiji disikabia omo say ban for scan kwa obi ase okay because na SCF yen cause sa ejom nyoma bo no kwa na ehwihwi no sasana ebe dada o say bibia inflation 3.2 ejina ho enko yen cause sa se mo pese mo ka kire se yen ne eti o manim no yen nim de ekọ nim de esidia yen cause sa mo nko na mo nim sa kra Kumasi road so no we na enye yafuya de say you the catch us a quan now a death trap. It is a mumu here. That's a musi san say ya. Yan go to say.
But a drum neomana wasn't a boy a costron. A neoma bia na neoma be. Okay. And it's a coco, a juraco, a year, Techimana. Maybe I don't ba. Sa so ya ne, a bruni, a year sanamano, a buamana brusso. And on the born is stable. A born cry. In fact, can they born 1,000 and they all born it be a 4-5, it be a 500.
sa abo no kra na eye no kra na ehun asem to no kra ayede kopot na say normal government services na no because how dey name peja all services being provided by government ko DVL ko ha ko ra ni nyina ya peja for percentage so nkika ka homo no say ampasa na tia na so ye kasa muntie minimum na mun up to minimum dia every day obeka bia na ehiti omo pan na asa abafom bam ehiti omo pan na asa abafom bam because you him and then afenyo marking unfortunately issue no ene o sign and then o ka say no ade achi na se ne sebresesa na o kontra majority a bibia be koso bia on sa same judge na afa no papa sabri no na kwachi ofosu also we have said time and over that these judges, some of them, they are wearing pure NPP colors. Oh, no tape, no fan tape, no bo, no majo money. So that is what we are preaching. You cannot at this point reference the NPP because you be sure almost in fact, care more 41. You don't be bam na be yan munyambi, but you sure more good form. And nothing na be catch say. And you may be a working country as part of the reset, no. Shana year and the country is in your baba mudabe. O call second year. Almost second year. Oh, second year. A couple soon be and soon now the second year Nasa Kugu. Udo third year the Bemudia. Uncarry because about one Casam internal about to elections. Yama be beba. It's a Hokran, honestly another problem. 40 year Nankasano sono. I think some Yakotuaba. It is sabre no krano mampen bia wo so sabre nya mampen we nko sabre mampen bia wo so sabre no o party for instance here can defo na wie omo nyina ho odi nyina no akwa polisa ni pakonachi enuti eno ba hwa obi ya kasa wan disi mu momo ayerua John Dramani Mahama his excellency na nani so ade hunu no etimi mbrem na munya se mudi apreapre pese se sikana mo hodo agu se etumi na mo pe o se de na adwuma pote de ahye mo se na obitimi ka je se surprise ye working hours surprise wa be ya wi o continue sa nya resetting no that's a gift to control party hoya etidien Mr. NDC from Pamto Muntie now you be wiye no say konwe you will come back to us again and say hey namoka sa na people for do na namoka ni e ka de ni e ka tell say some ministers ni bi me si so dua bi and then ministers ni bi won ma Yerua John Dramani Mahama nimnya for his excellency some ministers ni bi some chief executives ni bi because once bebre when is wade hu na person odi magana for say wo John Dramani Mahama his excellency open Ghana yin bebre shine say ni wade hu no omo shine ni si from
after just 1 year on
sisa
1 year
push omo second year mo sisa no because so obi tira ba bi che obi tira fa ko che ohun say tumi bia no betima Kenya bi ma afere de ope and all year
so man penny de paper ne pen to anim say o man boa me pese me sesama ban ne mu a unim nkofo be 5 bia wo so omko
minim be 8
wo so omko
also nkosu na chief executive go minim be 12 eso mo fi okokro na nipa be boa nipa mo Ghana wo do
e ba be boa
Ghana
CEOs no 12 and a minister
Somko na obi no afofo muntie ni obi no ototo ose manim se ade ne nyina agira won e ka e duka we ya bi eri dukuri to do ba we dey yo silence odi awo se so e je bi o hangi bibi ni nyina o ni aka na obusa me se nwotwe o se nwotwe next question I do my boy abo bodi ni bi am se I am bo eti bi se mo e da o pefe se as a sense bi eba na memuna e dey another level of in Kenya now feel so o pull breaks no on party kasa bebrebe na ese no on se nanda within kasa no because a disturbable focus
but say now we can hear and say realistically for anything really transformative to happen I was saying the next 7 months
I don't know whether how much trading or more calculated there. They don't have time. They don't have time. The time on one to impress the Ghanaian because go 2 years no.
Next year so
next year
pray for flag bearer.
Na we are say hun sensem so no e kan so amemu no na hun sem na bebre. Na fi IMF kwasi consult na kwantia mon check yen to na fi ebufa so na bi kwose ba bi na careful. I don't know whether they are still in their comfort zone, and the assumption is that NPP is so unattractive. Say the Ombe be a crown. Mr. May catch them all. As a party, NDC Amubu Mino, Munshana mo internal wranglings na FF Bano, and Jinsem, because Jinsema is there. May catch your navy, and some pa what NDC Amanu. Makacho, the only difference they say. They are able to control their sympathizers on more levels of buffoonery. That's the difference. But at a war at a go there, you can feel it. Timisra Obi, Yakasa not to serve any political party or group in Sibia interest. Yakasa to draw the attention of people who are managing the country now. So Nyoma Bebrato sing. There are a lot of good people in the system who really want to come and serve this country. But the way I man your seminar, and then because I see our weaponized social media, or be a baby social media, they move Oyoha, Umbe, and you're watching, attend ye, and the country seems to be clapping.
Many lawyer Nana Eje Bafo Iwa Enin Komo Oye MP for Menchia South constituency
festival.
And a private legal practitioner.
So no festival
Soloku, that's the main festival out here was Soloku. Sure. I hear say Ekoye. Honorable Akwa Net saying Yami Adom, Papa. Yes.
Soloku Germany there. Yami Adma one professor. Yes, Ghana celebrating. Yes. Professor Robert Markins or Mamtek. Yeah.
Okay. Sam Mampong.
Yeah.
Teacher training college.
Professor Markins. Now, Osaye Jama leader. Into all the universities in Akasi and near. Mamtek from the winning.
Yeah, Mamtek. Solid.
It's led by that professor.
Oh, okay.
Teacher near now Fakusa, I professor. So Ghana addition once a match.
That's nice. That's nice.
The professor often count Jamal Group no attend. Often count officer no. Yeshani Ebusu.
Wow. Wow, but that was a beautiful initiative. Honorable, now you share minority leader, leader in parliament. Ninsemua Wakeka Ediafa. I think circuit court judge who as a lawyer yourself, listening to your leader speak, not then will trim.
Ubi Medasi. Near a course will be trim. The show say there is a brass to say, Yajine court the air course very well. Ubi. We share a justice administration system law. Kumi ewo o mine ho se sebi ubitia emra usha ya hyehyɛ sɛ so ubitia yemfa no nkotum ana yenyene fa ahodie mfiri ne nsɛm ana sɛ yemani ntia sika ibroni be frɛ the fine no sɛ tumi no ɔde ama state no but sɛ tumi no Emran should mean say, it be a possible said you could be in seminal, Debbie Beba, a bit near Busono. It is be and yet on my penny, and now Obia or Benu. And now say, penny do influential in society. Now we say even policeman being put on Obi or no so police station. A mining of Emrani say, Sammy pay, it would be able to be Sumrano. Emrano should say, Sammy pay, and a possible say, essence of really painting, they can also get it wrong. So, in the two Nino, I decided, say, you're betting papa who dear free me some, and I say, you're dominant Kurano, sell to me, Yamaya and judges. what you say and yes. Article 14 of the Constitution or catch that will say only far would be a no Ubia no bitch yadia free me just say no one left and near my just say Nipania ya bedia free me some or Manis wow no sad to say in compliance with the due process of the law. So what I say it is about the Embrani say and was so called to know in China or mine court regional or minor anything before them some ya beya or beshe say ubia fa emranche in some free say when you say so timi or roll cover for our battery it is so I say ya na otumi fo bi person otumi fo bi obi person or one cover for our battery it nipa na obeje no any court no so na o share the trend bi a ekwa no bisa no say court no or ye intentional for pa or ye intentional for pa ma fa Abronye case in example itself you know you say sabe so ka setia court wa enye intimbrano wa categorize as contempt of court so what I say intisa we a judge na obi pa when otumi fu Nipati tumi won in some eba say Abronye we did court them. Say no kre, Embrani say you are presumed guilty, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Enti eba we se charge sheet no. Ti ba ye no who se charge sheet no kra no. The judge don't support the offense. So it say you didn't buy enough. Se nipa no kura catch on say a money bill and was one out to a decline as the prima facie case been established. So just say a person you know sabi oh
hello Abo.
Hello?
Yeah, now I said
na the no a year will be after a Abronye intia, but Mumian to your bony and shabby be. The ancient yen call to them TV and coho, radio and coho, now what's near AC. So what I say, the only time we get to hear of some of the happenings in our court is these high profile cases. Okay. That is how I will say. And Abronye Koran, ye and the Sana, so be I or to them will be ordinary Ghanaian piano, son of fool. These are the questions we should be asking. Say Abronye, lay a partisan position at the judge not taking. Because the thing is, I don't think that young friend the Obia, this Abronye. Say a detail Obia, so now you say another judge in Pulenya. Then it also raises the question of competence. Ushedi miru afani miru nyirana. Say a partisanship, say a competence, nyirana na sebi enye. Inti abra ya betting jumedia air koso yen call to them no obri. The yen from you. It thinks that we should all be concerned and begin to wonder what happens to the ordinary person who is not like Abronye. Mamika Semincho.
Yeah, but lawyer me pacho any DMO because you name say the lower court no such errors, mistakes, incompetence, any scenario can happen. That's why as a lawyer for your name say in our jurisprudence no inbuilt in the appellate system in the as lawyers your name the appellate court no has the power to interfere with the decision of the lower court under certain circumstances. And when it so happens, what you do is to go up and make sure, sir, you convince the appellate court to temper with the decision of the lower court. You don't resort to insult and attacks.
Neighbor will be teaming. The patrol team. Obiani said Dr. Nishi Nipa, Unipa no betini. Obiani said Dr. Nishi Nipa, Unipa no betini. Will we still find it acceptable?
FM.
Will we still find death from the negligence of a doctor acceptable?
No.
Will we find a friend says Obi ebedi because of say doctor negligence acceptable?
No.
It to say Obi and say at lower court, these things are normal. Ain't now appeal. It's for you to say fundamentally it is acceptable. It is idea appeal. Your basic errors be what it cannot be acceptable. For a judge, the law lies in your bosom. And it lies in your bosom very competently. That is why basic errors be what for a judge.
Yeah, but what's the remedy in law? Okay.
The fact that the remedy in law is appeal doesn't mean it cannot be criticized.
Yes, you can criticize. In fact, the Supreme Court cracker said, no matter how rambunctious, how harsh the criticism is, what they don't tolerate is a direct attack on the integrity and the reputation of the court.
We may find it unacceptable.
Yes.
But I'm saying that there's some curiosity that this is generating that we have to focus on. Let's focus on the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that anytime there is a high-profile case in our courts, some of our courts, we get to see some of the injustices that happen in there. Is it the same injustice that is also happening to the ordinary Ghanaian? If it is not the same injustice which is happening to the ordinary Ghanaian, right, but it's happening to high-profile people, then there's an issue of partisanship. A court is supposed to be independent. So how come they are being partisan? Don't we have a court that is independent of the executive? But if it is the same injustice that is also being meted out to the ordinary Ghanaian, then there's a fundamental question of competence. The fact that I can appeal against it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. Because you see, yes, sir, not why the person with them 1 day, why the person with them 2 days. I sana appeal no succeed no. Now madam 2 days, and 3 days, and 3 months a year. One more example be. Now we are business people be na omo ko ewo property no. Baako property. And I say a part of the property no ekano. A part of the property no ekano. So I say. You say, Nipa now, we report to the police station. I'm yet to call to our dental. Yet to call to our dental. The lawyer, I application for bail. Judge, they say, and some of them ruling on the application for bail, right? On call remand 1 week, Emra. And some of them ruling on the application for bail, on call remand, Emra. Wait, what here? One, because on your politician. So I say,
yes.
But Abronye because on your Abronye. The question is this: so if this is also happening to the ordinary Ghanaian in our circuit courts, because a bit near to Obi, Obi, let's be candid. You see, you're a lawyer for 10. I think that it's time for us to have some of these discussions. And you could be healthy about what my justice system. I get better about what my justice system. It to me separated from the executive properly because Minia say Anjia not executives no controlling the justice system to our detriment. It did a matter Wo na sebe ubia jaja unimde. Jaja unimde. Then mandi ubi for such an offense.
No, I mean, honorable, don't get me wrong. I have my issues with the judgment. There is absolutely no doubt about that. What is now in the public domain?
Let's focus on the judgment. Let's focus on the judgment.
Oh no.
For me, in my view,
yes.
Human liberty, the Constitution of Ghana, no?
Yes.
You see, we shouldn't separate it from its history.
I perfectly understand. We would have.
Let's not separate. Obi, make me slow.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You don't lose your focus.
That's fine. What you
say? You can't lose your focus. The Constitution of Ghana, no? From abuses of fundamental human rights and people's liberty. That is where your constitution, and abia wuchi abia ompe ni so betete ni papa agudi so and odi tumi na ma judge omo ni papa agudi it is a company say judge who ma yete ni papa agudi so then you are flouting the basic oath.
Lawyer. Me patrol or line. Aha, I don't know say ebi awo o drive there but on drive there na nka wagina baby ya my me patrol pa. Hello. Yeah, but it's still breaking. Me patrol no. We may have to call you. Mamon sign free will be on me pacho. Ekosi saying so the higher sempa 94.7 FM. I've seen say lots and lots of messages have come through. Man, in the time ana ye didn't come on unanimous FC no. The probably ready message even President Mahama eka unanimous FC. I've received way from Mamire. PK support.
No, Messi.
I think that Fortune Alimi.
I know because if we also have to make reference, we sat here.
Yes.
We spoke about some of the things that at that time they said the police were doing their work. They said the judges were at work.
Yeah.
And you are senior difficult for him to make certain admissions, but clearly, Obi. Criticizing the judiciary or the judge on their issues. You line and you draw to, and that line is obvious.
Don't cross it.
It's obvious.
Sure.
And no, yes, I be seen the no. It's not because of kwachi for su. On you careful because of the or no, on the can ask them but the catch or by references there, and the reference not shall say, but we cannot continuously build on that. So what it tells you, they say, enter to a 200 bimu. So what did I say? A 200. So mukoso e kraka ye say mampanyin ka say unanimous serving and a wake say omukoso sa na de ka che Ghana fo nyina say aban beko what we are advocating for. So man ye ma ehye no yie na ka say ho tie ka say ye papa o man no institution bi anya na bra ne nipa wom no omo ensa ne omo posifo na monto yan criticize yan say sa de ne nya ne ye hwe bi mu because the next government of maybe the NPP no what they are also planning in their mind no difficult. Reference. NDC was so cry no.
Abronye say.
Obi this doom so by ye chino the pembe back na yehu baby. So this is what we are building on. That is why we are saying that we cannot continue on that tangent. Because Obi our point Obi our point.
Just they saying enough is enough. Now let's move.
That is what I'm saying. That problem. I can before or mining behind the scenes. Let's have a conversation. Obi Bakacho, NDC Bakacho, make a money text me. Dr. Puni, Sami Jeff. Sami Jeff friend call.
Oh, I would say Sami Jeff. Sadan ko free. CI the no studio has
NDC send me message. Say, but if you continue to do this. Bena ye Kenya no omo akasa omo wiata so omo primo makoma and until they know be phone and offer microphone not the best tool to educate people insult.
I hear sir lawyer me patrol afi wotemenka
I will be between Kappa.
Fantastic.
It will be a decline.
Yes.
Mamin can't see me in my head. A brass should say elevated the conversation. We cannot reduce the governance of this country with the greatest of respect to that level anymore. We need to make progress. What you say? That is petty governance.
Yes.
We need to move on.
Yes.
And you see, the people that suffer because of the petty politicking of the few are far more than the political players. Because essence say, obi meme pedi kwaima ebia obi di boni bintino. Say ni pano di bedi wo obi ana oman na moye ordinary citizens. So I say, but my institutions working in accordance with due process of law. Say ni pano don't mean yes no. That is my focus. And you see, I am keen on that. In my public discourse, I've never said you will be in Tiamfani will be line ya draw there be you movie on. May that public office na so catch me say ba fuwa we di boni we di sika enti emranu nia emranu ese oni mi die because being a member of a political party is not friends, it doesn't grant me the immunity to commit criminal offense. So I say, we are Sanswa, Timon so bubefu, sorry at Yamanyo. But the point is that, so would it be dear from Rakwansunedi Bindi? This is the whole point I am making. Say a BC, say be a sinne, say I see near Kososa, Daku Kuruno Bebo. So what I say, and into the years to Christo can say, or Yonko Shiwenisua. Than the other side, mano, because on him say the moment I'll be shit and so back and talk into the NDC 4 year, and I said the NPP, say China NPP bar by more. Some of us will insist on compliance with this due process of law. That's what I'm saying. Share America for ya, and now know how difficult it is to get extradition from America to Ghana. But if you are Ghana, the extradition order will be made because the application was made by the Attorney General. They make atmosphere because they make sure that there is compliance with due process of law. It doesn't matter who brings it. It raises the capacity, the competence of the people. Because maybe a state attorney, not the dear could be a judge grantier. What industry will I put in the work? Okay, time one. Now bail certain offenses here non-bailable. No. What they call ya murder non-bailable near the natu. Rape non-bailable near the natu. It me a state attorney. And what they bail na bedebe sheme jumemu. What they be sheme jumemu. So what I say. The point I am making is that our judges should make sure say they are standing in between the strong and the mighty on one hand, and then the weakest citizen on the other hand. That's all I'm saying. Because also trend it confirms something, and it will be another point. Argentina, the judges in circuit court 9, they are all towing a certain line. Argentina, don't you think, say, it sends a certain message? So what I say that irrespective say a different judge, will toe a certain line. In the family, Abronye call sa court first. Sa judge ya man promotion, right? They want a case in the court. Okay, and is the ruling our choice. So kai ruling our choice. No law him, no back him. So what I say, and now no Baba man do call sa court war. Let different judge in the but boy, it is said here, judge back on the year. And Argentina judges of a particular court, ABA to a certain line. Don't you think so? We should all be worried? It is our court, one. Say, Ubikowa, that's how your ordinary citizen are. Is it the same way we treat you? When I asked him so years ago, yeah, Bisawunia, a friend is saying, you knew ya, or no, or Wasasi. Law school.
Okay.
Me a defilement case be. Right? That be now or SGSSB, young brilliant guy, school of admin, from a very poor family in the central region. Anna will be accused of defilement. If fear wabeshimu real school wabeshimu or they any service. A collabi or yes we defiling no. Sir Omako Tiesika and what a friend is saying, police hospital, ama Cuban doctor be. And a watchful report to support that. And a minute, you see a real finity.
Wilberforce.
Yeah. Many Wilberforce. And you call police hospital or your investigations. Then we got the same Cuban doctor to write a report. Many Wilberforce. Now, Abronye, they need to move 9 months. Eventually, the Yakopo Abronye, with the friend saying, Judge for buyer. You file an application for no case to answer, and or discharging or acquitting, because we are successful at that. So what I say, the Wilberforce, yes, man.
Very well.
Now, a blank charge, because to say a young non-billable offense in tea, charge need a branch in that team. So what I say, many Ghanaians are also suffering injustices at some level. Mr. Abronye, when you Obia said we best sacrifice for him, it could them at the time. We pay 300 a year of national service. Or AGSS, He was one of the fewer of the father Juma. So we need to have a broader discussion about the justice system at that level. Say, my example of a businessman, my example of a national service personnel. And you have a free him and can own the opportunity to get hired. We give them or they bought the Juma, the Bushia for. So,
I'm running to my final question. I mean, I get your drift. So we should look at the root cause, the structure, how our justice system is built, and deal with the fundamental issues. Ebia uko judge ba could be judge me nubia, you may be missing the point. But as lawyers, do you think the approach, because you set out a very beautiful preamble and what building argument on, the approach certainly cannot be singling out one judge and attacking that judge frontally. And none of the nipa be na condemn it. Don't you think so?
Minia. So Ubiani senior Assemba was reacting. Now, Sequoia 1-2 mania. You give room for people to speculate. So they make out my share. 18 America say, Mumma, I didn't get the Biasa to a circuit court line. I didn't get the whole see.
Okay.
Into the whole AC. What you say? I think that cases are being assigned there, and when it is assigned there, and your man is in it. So I think that judge now, or yes, our first one, or yeah, Abronye, you put 2 no. It. That said, yes, I agree with what you are saying, but invariably, when you say assembly for the beer, you get heated up. So I say we get a Kumakos. But I believe that going forward, there will be some guidance in restraint in going forward. But the point is that there's a fundamental issue.
Okay.
We are building our nation. Ghana is still young, even though it is above 60. So I say,
yes.
Countries here, they go through a lot to get to where they have gotten to today. We have had the benefit of Sanya Medina. And Yamaba actually deal with it, we are sweeping under the carpet. Wow. But ordinary Ghanaians are also suffering because of some of these things. But you are only getting to know about it because of the high profile people involved. So, the ordinary Ghanaian will continue to suffer. I'm giving you examples. You yourself, as a lawyer, you have examples. And I believe you've heard tales from elsewhere too. There's a bigger conversation we need to have about it. That's all I'm saying.
Very well. Lawyer, my say, I think, yes.
Well, lawyer, when I say more references political parties, you know, clearly nothing will change if we
don't reduce Ghana. Just politicians. You make it and never for Nigeria. And never for Nigeria. And not for Nigeria. The ordinary citizen.
Okay, lawyer, in my man fan announced you now abem right.
Lawyer penny wa being made a woman or Chilema Metias, but the crapane say, or Doma Monyoko during their time.
Yeah.
How independent was the judiciary of Muslims and any independent? How independent?
Okay.
We sat here, we raised issues about some of the dealings of the judiciary. They stood instead of the judiciary. They were the spokesperson for the judiciary. Likewise, this current administration, spokesperson for the judiciary and BOG.
Yeah.
So clearly, a template.
Depending on where you stand.
Yes, and your lawyer no because of one nomination for there be or not as an independent person who chamber or the Merakuni Nebeyajuma. Udra Gua. Econo actions and inactions.
You have to be
clearly you have to be there.
Okay.
Yes, say you know be that chapter where we can reconcile and some of the things happening today. Memetia, we say before so. Nyomani bia nipa binima ye chichirom sebi emerality saying kwana we cannot just agree to ourselves. Ye be adjust near ye di ehun komo kakra. And no e de ni bre ni ebufuo and e
system nim.
It is a better na obeka tell say NPP ba. Almost may say reference you be say kwacho for subeka say mra na ye adwuma no yes so mra na ye den adwuma identity na dey obe raise about identity court now say court 7 and so oya judge ni won so akọ anu so oye na adwuma. This is the narrative from years.
The law is the law.
The law is the law.
Honorable, yes, your reaction 1 minute in fancy.
Omahene Mate, but let's open a new chapter in this country. We are building this country for our children. Many person that come in the hands of the law because of the similar situations I would hold myself responsible. Let's join hands to make a difference because we can make a difference. If the system goes on like this, it is very few people who benefit to the detriment of the greater society.
Very well.
That's my conclusion.
Lawyer, Yeda Sepa, Yamin Shaw, Bibiani, Yeda Sepa, Ekosi Saints, Haya Sempa FM. That's lawyer Nana Ej Bafo Iwua, private legal practitioner, member of parliament, Mensia South constituency in the Asante region of Ghana.
Quick was the I've seen that area at Force Rebecca. Private sector boost to be by 1.6 billion 2027 right?
Yes.
And immediately we can
and then the deputy finance minister
okay and the Kosikono is a quantity in IMF so I'm forming in Koso and
technical assistance program so I'm also we no first come my how mo share and you remember oh that's any time mo ha no ye nioma koyi
and I didn't say basa
I don't know
they be what to work for your late father.
Yeah.
Sabi papa tias they be what to know you know Martino. Every day that should come and monitor how you spend in your house. It means that you are irresponsible. Be chema won't say.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, careful because they be the NPP time we said this, but for IMF our difficulty is to live within
independently.
Yes, within our limits.
No? But my other thing, and I think we now make that argument consistently. Dr. Makasibe, also on the finance minister, and Obeko IMF akoka chomzo mumfa table on a chair. MMC finance minister.
Who your problem?
Nasadi on economic history. Anytime we are doing well, no, time IMF for Ghana.
It will be
when they leave, Atufosin knows, say, once IMF leaves, the political pressure will start coming. And he would have to kowtow to the pressure. At least, as long as there is a semblance of something IMF around, no, even the party will know, say, hey, IMF for how they are. So now at once when you respite be the energy man. And yes, if they leave today
and the catcher is on idea what you want to go from the AD bow.
Are they?
Oh, the number doesn't meet here who are cabinet ministers for.
I almost say release come over
you are aware. Mamma Nana Jantua shedding.
yes
sister
Udinichi na ye na what you
Mrs. Adjoa Brago Jantua memano nana ya ni ya yako kese pa in fact okunu ye era next kwabna pepra emano so ye na afia se wa pepra ana maame abna kunadu eye ni nhihye ni burial service no nyame aduma ye ne betumpem ewo era NSP pra ne residence ewa hinima kokobe yes 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. nafi ewufu somnya ko ne St. Prince Anglican Cathedral Kumasi anopa no nkono na private burial akoso mampontin nafi abusuan betnase memenda no Heroes Park Babaya Sports Stadium 1 to 5:30 yes na ne kwasi da no so na asia sumucho onbe kono St. Prince Anglican Cathedral Church 9 o'clock na fe abusuafo asa betena se wo era RK Pepra ne residence wo asokwa ebene 1 p.m. to 5:30 the late Mrs. Adjoa Brago Jantua Pepra nana ya Jantua ne sister Penyimu enti the
sister one father one mother
yes enti yami adma weekend Friday Saturday Sunday
na ye ne koso
na fe akwetiafo nyina titu kofinti abusua ana member of parliament
Kofinti musician
there be a era akwasi akwa ne aid no onyam kwanhia
no film
Kofinti he's not met him before very nice gentleman young man very nice gentleman
kwanhia be no
in fact details didn't share that my ascanti
accident still killing precious souls
na me kwa meseba yen hwe ne yen moto ni pragian common yi and kwanhia moto ni pragian common so ba na e o se mo some refresher courses bi pragia for akwada bia be 11 12 13 14 years obi ko hwe omunipa omode HV pragia and the way they drive the pragia and motor no traffic regulations no my be so mediso na me simi busa say sa vox no mo ka wa say and so apply and I say omode mere bi by na
say I think road safety authority and the statement by
omanyantu
as to say our statement what the force of law as we another
well omon kasanche is omon kasanche omon sa driver for omon vox omon kanche from the transporter was for for no mzuko hwi no anu washido obi no krepa na mekana anu
vox ni say mo hasasa wa the co speed kakra na to na
maybe why but what happened to your games there here me was aduane ehun tokwa
games there
what happened
games are maybe Dominic Mose, Deputy Finance Minister wa Homane so.
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.